joining me on another episode of The Gray Area. She is a sports and entertainment reporter and journalist. And I want to make sure I get this right because I love this in your bio. She says she describes herself as her reporting style as an intersection of humor and technical knowledge. I absolutely love
Yes.
that.
Thank you. Thank
G-
you.
Jeandra LeBeauf joining me today on The Gray Area. How are you today?
I'm very good. Thank you. It's Monday. It's getting cold here in Los Angeles. So it's sweater weather. So I am great here in Los Angeles. How are you doing?
I'm well. I'm well. It's a nice 46 degrees here in Texas, so I'm kind of right there with you when it comes to cold weather. When it comes to this
Well,
time of
it's
the
like
year.
it's like 70 here.
Wait. So we're talking about two different types of cold here, aren't we?
It's California cold here.
It's
Like
funny.
70 is like, oh my God.
It's funny because I'm from Missouri, so
Mm.
46, 50-degree weather. It's like, oh, this is great. While meanwhile, it's maybe potentially snowing back at home. So.
If it was 48 degrees here, Californians would lose their minds. Overnight, okay, but 48 in the middle of the day, like you would think we were in a complete crisis here. That'd be a whole separate pandemic in California if it was that cold. Well, Southern California anyway.
Yeah. And you're based in Los Angeles.
Yes.
What is it like to live in the entertainment capital of the world in Los Angeles, where you have the bright lights, the big stars, and for you, you're talking to a lot of these folks on a regular basis as part of your job, obviously.
It's funny that I hear people complain about Los Angeles all the time. Oh, the people are so fake and and it's funny when you really nail those people down and ask them about it. The people they don't like are never from Los Angeles. They're transplants from somewhere else. Most Los Angeles native Angelinos are cool, laid back. It's a very casual culture here. Um, Los Angeles is great, other than being too expensive and too crowded. The convenience, the variety of activities, like we're joking about the weather here, but realistically, if I wanted to go snow ski, I could drive like 40 minutes. I could go ski and turn around in the same day and go surf or go ride a horse or go work on a farm and do all of that within a 3 hour, 2 to 3 hour span in any direction. So
Yeah.
it's a terrific city in terms of diversity, but it's just too expensive here. Don't come. Don't come. Never mind all those other things I said. Just don't come.
Yeah. Have you ever found yourself thinking, what, one day I'm going to, leave Los Angeles, or it's just like, look, I'm here. This is where my work is. This is what I do. And this is where I'm going to be at.
I have thought about it. I love Texas. When I went to Dallas for the Errol Spence fight, I loved it. It was like, to me, it was like the best parts of LA with cleaner streets, cleaner city, nicer people. We have good food here, but terrific food. But just the whole Southern thing. I have Southern parents, and so I loved just how friendly people were, and I like Dallas a lot. Aside from that, I kind of like Arizona. My brother lives in Arizona. There's some beautiful houses there, but once you get past, say, February, it's just too hot. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do the 120-degree weather and having
Yeah.
to be inside all the time. I can't get with that. So, that's the trade-off here. Maybe that's why we're so fickle, because we don't have to stay inside.
Yeah.
Everyone has their winter season where it's boot up weather. And then you
Uh-huh.
have here, there is no boot up weather. It's, you want to go to the mall? You want to go to the beach?
You want to go skiing, whatever floats your boat for that day.
Exactly. So, we have a lot of access to each other here because there's no extreme temperature to really drive us
Hmm.
indoors.
So tell us about your start. How did you get into sports and entertainment journalism and reporting? What made you think, what, this is the thing that I wanted to do with my career?
With me, I've always been a talker, a talkative kid. I've always liked talking to people, young people, old people. That was always my thing. Always got in trouble in class for wanting to talk to my neighbor, like most of us who like to talk for a living. And when I got ready to go to college, I have traditional parents who are like, you need to get a job with accounting. You need to get a job with a pension. And, they are older. And so they have that traditional mindset, and they didn't really think that doing something like journalism was a very viable option for a young Black girl from Inglewood. And also the media was limited into those days to you either worked for the paper or you worked for the network. And I never was a network, the old model, what a network person would look like.
Mm-hmm.
So I went another path in college, ended up becoming an HR professional. So I thought, oh yeah, I still get to talk to people. I love to talk to people all day. And I worked in the public sector and human resources for many, many years, but I still kind of had this pull for it. Started blogging about boxing after someone encouraged me, after seeing me on Twitter, like, hey, do you have a blog? And I'm like, oh no, I don't really do that. So I started a blog, and from there, that's how I met Robert Littell, who runs Black Sports Online. And he was like, hey, I need someone to help me out. Do you want to contribute here? I said yes. And from there, it was just kind of off to the races. I guess I was already getting credentialed in the boxing world as an individual, as an independent blogger. But once I made that connection, it opened up other connections. And then, we landed here. It kind of spread out into other things, and I became more comfortable with, being myself and talking to people. And so it really started getting my career started getting some legs underneath it. And, that's a short, easy story of it.
Have you always been a sports fan, or did you kind of say, you know what, as I got more and more into it, I started to love, sports, and particularly boxing?
No, I've always loved sports. Everybody in this house was an athlete, except my mom was a cheerleader, ironically. My father played baseball. I had a brother who ran track. I had a brother who played football. I was a competitive ice skater as a kid. So we're a very sports-centric family. Ironically, I just got a new Laker jersey in the mail, and I started to wear it for this.
Mm-hmm.
I got a Mamba jersey, a black Mamba jersey,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm cold, so I put my sweater back on. So I'm freezing, so I put my sweater back on. But no, we're super duper. I live in Inglewood. I live in the shadow of the Forum practically. So big time Laker fans. My dad's a big time Dodger fan. My mom loves sports. They're from Louisiana. They're also Saints fans. And so sports has always been a big thing. But with boxing, my dad is the only one who really liked it. And he would watch on the weekends and Wide World of Sports and all those old school shows. And I'm like, oh God, Dad, boxing again. And he was like, you need to watch this and learn something. And as I watched it, I found that I really liked that type of a competitive sport where you are the sole, your success is dependent on you and you alone. Back then we didn't watch too much tennis. I like tennis now, but it was boxing. It was all about you and the other person. And that really appealed to me as a competitive personality. So it kind of stoked a little fire. And then as I got older, I found my way going back to it.
And for you, talk about the entrepreneurial spirit that one has to have, especially being independent and starting out and trying to find your footing, and then developing the creativity to say, you know what, I want to strike out on my own and build a brand of my own. What kind of mindset does it take to do that based on your experience and how you've been able to grow in that space? Honestly,
it's really about passion. You have to have a passion for it, because there's going to be a lot of dark days. The lifespan of an entrepreneur goes like this. There's no, if you're a doctor or a lawyer, an engineer, or whatever, an accountant, there's kind of a natural progression where you go to school, you get the credentialing, and you can move, not easily, but you can find a job when economic conditions and those things are healthy. When you work in the media space, even if you're a successful person, you could get laid off. Maybe what the network wants or what the public wants is something different. So it could change today or tomorrow. You really have to have a passion for what you're doing, because if you're going into it to be rich from the onset, this is not for you. You have to be focused. You really have to love and do the research and be committed to whatever it is you're choosing to cover. And you have to live it every single day. Every single day. There is no day off. not team no sleep and all that nonsense, but you live and breathe it. Your
Yeah.
immediate people around you are typically your peers who you can communicate with and bounce ideas off and things like that. It's a hard road and sometimes it's a lonely road, but if it's something you're passionate about, it's worth it because you love what you're doing and it keeps you focused and it keeps you committed. So it's not a 9 to 5. It's not I'll work on it for a few hours today, or I don't have time. I'll do a little bit on the weekend. It just doesn't work like that, especially with the nature of the type of access we have to things today with social media and all that. When that didn't exist, you could do that. You could write an article a week and mail it in to your editor or however they did it back then. But with this now 24/7 access to everybody and everything, it's a grind. It's
Yeah.
even more so now in this pandemic because everyone's at home on their computer now.
Hmm.
So it's quite a grind, and it's not for the faint of heart.
What was your why? Excuse me. What was your why as you were finding out the passion that you had, the creativity that you had? What was that why for you, and said, this is something, no matter what happens, I've got to do this?
Ultimately, the why for me was I really love people. I love hearing their stories. I like being a vessel for the story. I have one of my best mentors that I just adore is Al Bernstein, who's a commentator for Showtime. And he used to tell me all the time, you have to be the vessel for the stories. Like journalism has gotten away too much for people and for personalities. And it takes away from the athlete or the story you're trying to tell because the reporter wants to be the story themselves. But to be a good reporter and to really help communicate what you want to convey about these people is sometimes you just have to sit back and be quiet and let the story tell itself. And I love that advice from him because I always felt like the examples that I saw, and there weren't enough examples of women working in sports media. Entertainment's a little different, but with sports in particular, what you saw was the aggressive take over the story, and it'd be more about what a reporter said about the athlete than the athlete themselves. And was never my jam. When I started, I didn't even want to be on camera. Those early days of starting with boxing, I wrote and I did a lot of stills and I shot scrums or group interviews for those of you. And I never wanted to be on camera, but I knew for my own personal growth and development, I'd have to come around a little bit, but still be mindful of I'm not the story. I'm just the vessel for the story to ask what the people watching want to know. And so I kind of call myself like a glorified fan because I'm like a fan of everything. And I want to know. And I try to think of the things that other people may want to know, but they're scared to ask, but with a more positive slant.
And have you found yourself having any additional feelings or responsibility, not only being a woman, but a Black woman in journalism, to continue to perform, not obviously at just a high level, but to put forth the kind of consistency that takes to be the kinds of examples to other individuals who are looking to you to say, hey, if she can do it, then, I can do it. I can do it too.
Absolutely. I have a 16-year-old daughter and she's not particularly interested in this, but her friends are, and other young men and young women who think that it's not a viable path, or maybe they have traditional parents or grandparents who are raising them and may not understand fully what they want to accomplish. I love mentoring young people and showing them there is a way. You can do this for a living, you can sustain and support yourself, but you do have to work hard. And my path is not the path you have to take, but I'm going to tell you what I wish someone would have told me when I was your age. And hopefully that will help you not only figure out the path that you want to take, but how to navigate some of those obstacles that may exist, or God willing, those obstacles are kind of eradicated by the time you get there because there is more representation. But, it's critical. I feel like every time I step in front of my camera, like the Instagram thing we're joking about before we came on, is I represent not only myself, I represent my child, I represent my mother. I don't want to do anything where my kid can Google me and go, or her friends, because I have a very unusual name. I'm the only person in the world with this name. So I can't be like, that's not me. You know? So I feel a responsibility to put my best effort. I don't have, and it doesn't mean being uptight and highbrow and stiff. It's just being myself, but doing things with integrity and doing things that are true and authentic to who I am.
And part of what you were mentioning a little bit earlier about being kind of a glorified fan, take us inside of what that rush feels like. Obviously, you're doing your job and being a professional on red carpets and speaking to celebrities and other individuals. But do you still get that rush every time you get onto a red carpet for a big event or whatever the case may be because of the things that you're doing and who you're speaking to?
Every time, every single time. I still get it on Zoom. Even I love people, whether they are actors, athletes, the dude in the grocery store. I just am a super duper extrovert. Like I love talking to people. And if it's someone that I've never, even if it is someone I've spoken to before, or they've created something that I liked or had any type of reaction, any visceral type of reaction to, then I get that rush. I interviewed a young actress today or a couple days ago, that I'm not familiar with, but I really liked what she did in her role. And so when I was like, oh, I'm going to talk to her, I was so excited. And, I get that little heartbeat now when now we're doing it on Zoom. When I see the little green light come on, like, I'm like, I get a little, a little inhale, and then
Yeah.
you have to go. And before, I remember starting out doing those early interviews, that I get that little check, and and it would take me a minute to get my brain and my mouth to connect with each other, but I still get the breath, but now it's easier to spit out what I need to say.
And when you are going through these interviews, what are things that you want to make sure that either question wise or interview wise to say, hey, these are the things that I want to make sure that I get out. So the stories that I want folks to be able to hear from these individuals connect and resonate with the audience that I'm trying to connect with.
Here's a little working tip that works for me. No matter who the person is, whatever they do for a living, I'll take my notebook, because I still like to write. I mean, I love my computer and all, but I still like to write everything. I'll go through and I'll write a whole bunch of questions of things that I want to know, and then I throw them away. Because whatever I think of in that first 20, 30, 40 hour of preparation, I know those are the questions that everyone's going to ask. So I take and I write everything down, and then I toss all that. And then I go back and I think again, okay, let me go a little bit deeper about what I want to ask. And that's how I usually get my better questions. Let's see, for example, if I was going to talk to, say, okay, OBJ is injured right now. That's terrible. It's a whole nother topic. I wouldn't even ask him, the low hanging fruit to ask him about would be the giving out the money, or anything about his hair, or the social media, or his big dogs, or the TikToking and the dancing and all the things he likes to do. Those are things people like about him, but I feel like it's been asked ad nauseum.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd write all those things down and go, no, why don't I ask him about his mom's cooking? He's from Louisiana. He's a big Louisiana guy. Let me ask him about his early day. Let me ask him something about LSU that someone might not know. And so that's how I take my approach to getting the better questions. Then I can circle back and bring in those kind of surface questions that I want to ask. But I'd like to start with something a little bit more below the surface to catch them off guard, and then bring in the more topical things to talk about to, make the good headline.
Yeah. That's a fascinating approach. Thinking about the questions that, you know what, we'll just put those away and we'll figure out how we go in a little bit deeper. So is that part of the longevity that you've learned in this business about how to ask questions, when to ask them, timing and those things? What is the key to longevity in this business?
I think the key is recognizing when you're starting to feel a little burnout, you can pull back and still work, but it's critical. Like I used to be, I said earlier that you have to live it 24/7, and you do. But you do have to take days off for yourself. And that was very challenging for me at first, taking a day off. But there has to be a day where you do not work at all. And you spend that time with your family or engaging if you don't have children or whatever it is you like to do that thing. You have to do that thing. You can't completely lose yourself into your work, because then you're not the same person. If I start losing myself totally and I don't indulge in the other things that make me who I am, then it's going to change my whole approach to asking questions, because it is those kind of quirky things that I like to do outside of that helps me inform and create other ways and interesting ways of questioning people. Like, I'm a super duper WWE person.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize how many super WWE people were out there until, I really started getting active on Twitter and talking to people about it. Because before I'm like, I don't want to talk about that, especially because boxing people do not, a lot of them do not respect the craft. They're like, that is some fake fighting. I don't like that. But by kind of curtailing those likes, I'm not being my authentic self. And it's funny, those kind of quirks about yourself that you might think that are weird are make for the best interviews, because they kind of slip out of you because they are who you are, your authentic self. And it's unintended, at least in my case, because I talk too much, and it's unintentional. I'll talk to someone and something will slip out, like, oh, that looked like this when you were doing that. And they'll go, that's true. I didn't think of that. And it's just, it's just those weird things. You have to embrace all of who you are in order to keep performing at the highest level. Because the minute you start losing those qualities that are unique to you, you're not the same interviewer anymore. You can be more sharp or technical, but you still need to fully embrace all those qualities that make you who you are.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that, because one of my favorite videos from you was you were doing a promo as if you were in a WWE event. You were coming down the ramp and you did your own WWE promo. And I thought, one, that takes a lot of courage to do that, because not a lot of folks can get out here and just, put together a promo, for one. But for you, I think it was a little more extra. And I think you kind of talked about that a little bit, why that was so meaningful for you. Why was that so meaningful for you to go down that ramp, cut that promo, and do it with the kind of confidence that you displayed doing it?
I was scared. As friendly and jovial and extroverted as I am, because it wasn't just me and the person who was filming it for me. Salute to my guy, Hip Hop Gamer at Hot 97. That's who was shooting it for me. We were in the performance center and all of the athletes were in there working out. Like, you had all these NXT people in the ring, they're practicing. You've got the people who are coming up through the performance center, and there's outside people in there. So they're naturally tuned in to, like, who the hell are all these people in here? And so they're giving us a tour. I was there to do press. The wrestler Paige was doing press for her movie Fighting with My Family, and they were doing the interviews there. That's why we were there. And I thought, oh, that's so dope. I want to get in the ring. And our tour guide was like, well, if you get in the ring, you got to do a promo. And I'm like, who knows when I might ever get to be back in the performance center again. I'm like, okay, well, I'll do it. And I mean, I love Nia Jax. And then I started thinking about what would be a promo that would make sense. Like, it would be kind of dumb for me to say something about maybe like Alexa Bliss or whatever. But Nia Jax, I don't know, she was the first person I thought of. So I'm like, what would I say to her if we were in a match? And and it just kind of came out of my mouth. And it was just so funny and it was fun. And I love doing things that I probably won't have a chance to do ever again. So I don't want to ever say, man, I should have done that when I was out there. I never want to do that. I never want to have an instance in my life where I say, God, I should have done that. But that's me. Do not take this as well. You have to do what you feel comfortable with. However, there is a lot of room outside of your comfort zone. And it'll be those gut-wrenching things that make you want to throw up will be like the most gratifying things you'll ever do.
And I'm sure you get this question quite a bit because obviously what you do in part with not only boxing with athletes, but also with entertainers and celebrities also. If you can, what's one story that you haven't told about being on the red carpet that folks would want to know about, especially knowing the kind of chaos that can be on a red carpet sometimes in
Ooh.
dealing with in celebrities?
Well, ooh, that's a good one. Let's see. So folks have seen me and Tiffany Haddish. We've got our long going thing going on. Um, Vin Diesel's pretty cool. Oh, here's a great one because I have literally no footage of it. So when the New Edition movie came out, the series came out on BET, I was doing red carpet for that film and I was so excited. I had a real cherry spot. For those of you who don't know how the red carpet works, when you are an outlet that works for a targeted media, that means your publication is Black or Hispanic, or that's your main demographic. You're usually at the end of the carpet. The way the carpet is set up is the plum spot or the photographers are first, Associated Press, whoever's shooting photos. And then it's network like Entertainment Tonight, Access Hollywood, your big shows. And then it's your bigger blogs like your Athletic, Nocturnal, the bigger ones. And then you get down further down and it's your Black this, your Latino this, your whatever, your targeted blogs. So if you're at the end of the carpet, by the time the talent gets down the carpet after stopping for all those interviews, they're tired of talking to you. And you usually don't get much. But this particular day, I had a fantastic spot. I was right next to network. I was the first spot next to the network people, and I was so hyped. And all the cast came by. They were talking. They were joking with me. I had people beatboxing and spitting Hot 16 and just acting a fool. Like everybody was so hype and jovial on this carpet. And then I got home and my cord wasn't plugged into my camera the whole time, my mic cord.
Oh no.
Well, it was plugged in. It wasn't plugged all the way in. When I tell you, I sat because I was so excited. I got in the car. I'm like, yo, I'm about to I'm going to use my phone and give people a preview of what's on this card because all of this content's going viral. I'm like, why can't I hear anything? It just sounded like, and I went, oh my God, I didn't plug my cord all the way in.
Oh no.
And I cried. I mean, I cried thug tears in that car. I had no content, no usable content, none. Wow. It was a hard pill to swallow, but it was a lesson learned. So I haven't shared that story really a lot of times because that's pretty moted.
Yeah.
And embarrassing and unprofessional, but it was a lesson you can be excited for the work, but you better make sure your equipment's together before you get there. I've had that happen a couple times. I had that happen too on my old Instagram. I had a video of Tiffany Haddish pulling my cell phone out of my shirt. And that series of interviews too, I forgot my mic. Had to borrow one, and the person who, God bless them for lending me their mic, but their mic, it was like their in case of emergency break glass mic. So the sound wasn't very good and I had terrible sound. I had terrific interviews with Timbaland and Jermaine Dupri and fantastic, some of my best work, I think, on the carpet, no sound.
Wow.
No sound. So an important thing to realize if you go down this path, make sure that you are budgeting your money to buy quality equipment. It doesn't have to be new equipment, but make sure it's quality. If you are currently working another job, you don't have to quit your job to go head first in. Stay there because it's going to finance your passion projects until you can make that transition into doing that full time. But lessons learned. I don't like sharing those on social media, but I probably should more just to help people out, but terrible, just terrible.
What's the one piece of advice throughout your career that has stuck with you that you can go back to no matter what you may have been going through at the time or continue to go through as you continue this journey that you can look to and say, this is why I can continue to do this?
Be nice to people. Be nice to all people, because you never know when the tables will turn and you will meet those people again. Some of my best contacts in the industry were not always at the position they are now. I mean, people who were camera people shooting other talent, someone who might be in security. I have a contact, I have a plug who was started off as a security guy at the studio, who was tipping me off to stuff. Be nice to everyone. Don't be nice just to the people you think are important, because here's the thing. It's cool to talk to the talent or the athlete or whoever it is, but unless you really have a personal relationship with you, they're not going to remember you. They talk to so many people all the time, not to mention the layers of handlers that they have around you. That publicist might like you, but next week they may have a new publicist, or they might not have a publicist at all, or they might bring their family member. Family members don't play about the people they are supporting. But that guy who is at the door at the studio, it's like, hey, there's something going on up here. If you want to pop up here, I'll let you in. You have to be nice to everyone, because you never know what's going to happen. And just be nice, period. You don't know what people are going through, but just treat everyone with kindness. It is okay. You can be professional and still be nice and kind and generous. Yes, it's a competitive market, but you don't have to be an asshole. It is okay to be nice. It doesn't diminish your professionalism or anything in any way. And it doesn't take away from your grind, or it doesn't elevate the next person ahead of you. A lot of people are afraid if they're nice that it somehow will put them in lesser standing and somebody might get ahead of them. No, it actually makes you that much better. And don't be afraid to share resources with people. I know it's hard and there's only so much food supposedly to eat, but if you're a true creative person, it's okay. You can share. It's okay to share people. It's okay to share contacts with people, because if you're truly good at what you do, it does not matter. It doesn't matter. I share contacts with people all the time, and my workload is increased instead of, lessening, because I'm not afraid someone's going to take my spot. It's okay to be good to people.
And for you, how has the business evolved and how you have had to do your job? Obviously, developing the relationships that you have over the course of your career, and how that's evolved with things like social media and the multi platforms that are out there. How have you grown as someone who's had to evolve in this business?
Honestly, with using the pandemic as a very specific example, the pandemic has been very good to me. I recognize that it has not been to a lot of people, and there are a lot of people still struggling who are looking for work. So I'm not trying to be offensive or diminish that in any way. As a reporter, what it has allowed for me is I can work continuously all day long, and I don't have to leave my house. I don't have to pay for gas. Hell, I can Winnie the Pooh it most days, because I only need like half an outfit now. So that has been beneficial to me in the fact that I can work more. And from that, working more has made me more visible and given me more opportunities, because it's increasing my digital footprint. So this particular instance, it has been very, very good for me, because then people are seeing my face more often and my social. So that allows for another publicist or another studio, or, oh yeah, I like her. Let's invite her outlet, or invite her and we'll ask her, what outlet she'd like to cover for. Cause I'm still a contractor. I'm not married to one entity. But so in that instance, it's been very good for me. In terms of social, on the boxing side, boxing is kind of tricky, because the gate, I guess you could say, if you want to call it that, for giving people access to boxing is a lot less tight than other sports like NBA and NFL and et cetera. As the credentialing process is very strict, even MMA. But with boxing, there's a lot more flexibility. And in that, it becomes a little bit more difficult to navigate and try to get that exclusive content, because there's so many people vying for it. There's so few boxers that are performing at the elite level. And it's difficult for the younger guys. Boxing, like most sports, but I think boxing even more so, boxing and soccer are sports that are born out of sheer poverty and survival. And so the people who participate in those sports may not want to talk to you or be the most eloquent. I'm not saying they're unintelligent, but they don't want to talk to you. They just want to fight. They're cutting weight and they're doing all these different things. And they're tight. Boxing is a very hard sport to thrive in as a media person, but at the same time, it's a gift because you will learn things there that will take you into other directions. Without boxing, there would be no of the other things that I do. There's nothing. That was my first opportunity to hold a mic or go somewhere and shoot a professional athlete at a close level and have that intimate contact that even now I still don't get with other professional athletes. Even if you're invited, it's still at a distance. I can't walk up to LeBron and be like, "So Bron, what's up?" I can't do that. But boxing, I've been able to do that with Floyd Mayweather and Canelo and lots of other athletes. So I'm very, very grateful. And I'll always cover boxing no matter what in some type of capacity, because without it, there would be none of this other stuff.
And for you, what's next for you as you have navigated throughout your career and obviously now through a pandemic and how that's evolved? What's next for you with respect to business development or career wise that you want to continue to focus your efforts on?
I want to continue growing my own personal platform. I love the outlets that I contribute to. I contribute to Rolling Out and Black Girl Nerds. And I recently started contributing in the last 6 months to a site called The Illuminerdi. I do a live show with them every Sunday night, and I still contribute to Boxing Insider. I want to get to the place where that my name recognition is so tough that when people want the coverage, they're looking for me. They're not looking necessarily for my outlet. And that's cool. It's no diss to my outlet. I'm not leaving them any of them anytime soon. But I want the athlete, the talent, or whomever to look for me because they know that they can trust me with their story, that I'm not going to twist their words, that we can have a fun, pleasant conversation, touch on some serious topics, laugh a lot with each other. And so that's the eventual goal. I don't want to limit it to, say, a talk show, because that seems a little formal. Whether it's I'm going to pop up on you in Compton and we're going to walk around and go get us a burger, or I'm going to go out to DC and, we're going to go to the park and throw a Frisbee, anything like that. I just want it to be that the talent wants to talk to me because they respect me and they know I respect them. So that's the ultimate goal, and trying to figure out how to make that happen. So right now it's still all about the relationship building aspect of it, but hopefully we'll get there. One of my favorite things, I love when that one platform takes the people to go shopping for shoes and stuff. I love I love stuff like that, but to me it's still a little too stiff and it's too stylized. I'd like something a little bit more raw, a little bit more personable, like we really homies.
Yeah.
So that's the goal.
Well, it has been a pleasure having this conversation with you. Obviously, I remember one time I tweeted out, I said, you were interviewing someone on the red carpet. I said, I want to be like her because she looks like
Oh,
she's having a lot of fun. She's doing a great job at it. And it seems like for you, this is not just something that's a job or a career. It's a passion of yours that you really seem in tune to. So I think a lot of folks can learn from your story.
I truly love it. If you are lucky enough, like I am, to live and breathe in something you truly love, I love it. My mom, God bless her, is 86 years old. And she, this social media, she don't understand none of that. I ask her every once in a while, Mom, what do you think I do for a living? I don't know, girl, something with some boxing. I know you be back there talking to people. I'm like, Mom, I'm a journalist. I'm a journalist. And she's like, oh, okay. And then I'll hear her talk. Girl, she down there talking to one of them people. I don't know who she talking to. But I mean, bless her little pea-picking heart. The old folks don't know what's up. But I truly love it. I truly love it. You have to, because you have to consume so much content, but you can't let it consume you. So I love it. It marries a lot of my favorite things.
She is a reporter, a producer. I love this conservationalist extraordinaire. She is the creator of Bad Culture TV, Boxing Insider. You can find her all over the place. But more importantly, someone who is a great example of how to do this business, Jeandra LeBeauf. Jeandra, thank you so much for the time. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
Oh, the pleasure is mine. I can't believe we've never done this before. It was super cool. But I thank you for inviting me because no one ever asked me anything. So it's kind of cool.